Have you ever started watching an anime and it gets so good that you're ready for the next season, but you check the date and there's no season two, and it's 3 years later? Well, here's a unfinished anime that is finished in the manga, of course, but they never finished the actual anime. I'm gonna go through this with no spoilers because if you want to check it out, please check it out. Very good anime. But I'll also be talking about an anime that started off with a bang, had a great, I mean, just perfect first season, but the second and final season just ruined everything before it. So maybe they should have just left it at one season and let us go read the manga instead because they weren't able to translate it properly. But before that, if you guys enjoy this type of content, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to grow this channel. It's just something I do for fun. So if you enjoy this kind of stuff, anime, I watch a lot of anime. So I just want to talk about it. So like and subscribe and just comment and interact. Love the interaction. So let's go to the unfinished anime that I would highly suggest, and that is Dorohedoro. It's a Mappa Studio. Believe it came out in 2020. Netflix series that ultra violent, uses a lot of CG. So if you're not into CG like that, this uses a lot of it. I thought it used it well. Some people, I'm not sure, could have not liked it. It's it's not for everyone. I see people getting upset with the CG and Demon Slayer. I don't mind it. If you have a high quality TV, you can kind of tell, and it looks a little weird sometimes, but as they work the kinks out, I think it'll be better. But this is by Mappa, who's done Attack on Titan. They're doing Hell's Paradise now, so great studio. And this is some of their, I believe, early work because this came out in 2020. This was a pandemic, should have been a pandemic guilty pleasure, but I found it later on. I had a week off or something, and I just decided, it came up into my suggested watches, so I decided, hey, I'm gonna check this out. Was completely hooked. I was watching it. I went to pick up my kids, and I was watching it on my phone because it was just that enthralling. So like I said, no spoilers. It follows Cayman, who is, of course, the lizard head guy. They just dubbed him Cayman because he can't remember what happened. So they're in this steampunk environment where it's just it's just a dreary looking area. So he's lost his memories. He was a human, but they have sorcerers there, and the sorcerer basically beheaded him and killed him for the most part, but he came back with the lizard head, and thus is his journey to find out who did it and what is his identity. He's going through and trying to get to the sorcerer world and trying to find these different sorcerers who enter their world. So I'm assuming it's our world, but in Japan, I guess. So he's trying to find the sorcerers. They come in and they do damage, but they also have a gateway to their world, which is a whole nother thing. And he's befriended by Nikaido, which is the female in this picture. So great adventures, very bloody, very violent. You have some really cool characters. Even the villains are somewhat sympathetic. You're probably going to like some of the villains more than you like the actual protagonists because they wear cool masks, they look cool, and they're not really, they do bad things, which I guess you should not like them for doing that. But for the most part, they're pretty interesting, and that's what I love about this is that almost every character that gets a fair amount of time is really interesting. And they don't have a ton of characters, which I'm glad. The little side villains and stuff like that, you don't get much from them, and of course that's the way it should be. But for the most part, you get a ton with the characters that you care about. Cayman, Nikaido. I won't go through the names, but you'll see them. There's a cool guy villain that wears a heart mask. He's a sorcerer as well. He's got a partner that wears another mask, and they have their big boss. And it's just the sorcerer world is cool. The fact that these are wizards and they can do interesting things to the humans, but you don't know all of but it's intriguing because you don't know who's a wizard at times because not everybody wears their mask, and they're supposed to wear their mask, but some don't, and that's the intriguing part. And it's 12 episodes, really short, and really good. Like I said, it's ultra violent. The CG can take you out sometimes, maybe, but for the most part, it's just there's not a whole lot of filler. There's hardly any filler. It's just there go at it, and it's a lot of action, a lot of blood. And I'm not a big fan of gory anime. I like some story, but I don't want to see, heads flying all over the place and body parts flying all over the place. But when it's done in a way, and it's humorous, I guess it's kind of humorous. How much humor can you get out of people being maimed? But it's humor in it. Cayman is a likable main character. He's not flawless. He's very powerful. He's strong as far as physically, but there's a lot of things that he can't do, and a lot of things that he doesn't understand. So it's good that he has a sidekick in Nikaido who's a little smarter, a little bit, more versed in the world that they're in. So they make a good duo. It does have some heartfelt moments as far as the anime. It ends. I'd have to look it up again, but it ends like not even halfway through the manga series. So they could have probably fleshed this out into 2 more seasons. It's 2023. This came out in 2020, so it's pretty evident that they're not coming out with another season animated. But maybe, we could keep our hopes up, and maybe Netflix will be like, we want another season, let's get it, and it'll just be 3 years later. Maybe they're working on it. I've looked up certain things, and it doesn't seem like there's anything about any new seasons coming up. So take that for what it's worth. But absolute treasure of a show. If you like I said, if you like action, if you like blood, if you like just weird animation and weird characters that can be funny. It's got some controversial things. There's a character called Ibisu. She's a young girl that some wild things happen to her early, and certain things they do, but that should probably not be done with even in this environment. You really don't want to put that into an anime, but if it's from the source material, you can overlook it. They don't show. There's certain parts that they show that are suggestive, but they don't actually show, what it is. So if you understand what I mean, but if you watch it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But besides that, excellent story. Like I said, it moves very quickly. I went through those 12 episodes like it was nothing. I'm sure you'll enjoy everything. They give you a cool preview before and after every episode. It's just, it's just kind of like anarchy. There's a lot of and you'll see early that's basically what that world is about. And, it's a really fun show. So Dorohedoro, I would definitely recommend watching. Unfortunately, like I said, they don't have an ending, so what it leaves off on it, really, you want to see what's going to happen next because it doesn't end on a true cliffhanger. The last episode is a little weird to me because it doesn't. Most anime ends of seasons end on a huge hook or something to hook you or something to get you to want to see the next season. But this one just kind of ends on some resolution stuff, and I would been interested to see how they would start the next season. But unfortunately, we never got it, and we're probably never going to get it. So definitely check it out. But now we're going to transition to a show that did finish and probably shouldn't have. It's Promised Neverland. As you see in these clips, it's a It's about three orphans, the main ones being Emma, Norman, and Ray. And you find out a little bit each episode what's going on in this orphanage. And they're headed by Mother, who is the orphan head. And it's not an anime that I would normally watch because it's not a whole lot of action. It's very story driven. The characters don't have any magical powers. They don't use any weapons. It's basically all just about what's going on in that orphanage and what's going on with those kids and the mystery surrounding Mother. So season one was just paced perfectly. It was, and I forget the studio, sorry. It's paced perfectly. It's, you get to know each character and you really get to like each character. Each one has their different quirks and their different personalities. You have Ray, who's almost Sasuke-like in he's just, he's like Sasuke. He's basically dry and stoic in his demeanor. Doesn't really care about a whole lot. Well, he makes it seem like he doesn't really care about a whole lot. And then you have Emma. She's very vibrant. She's definitely feels like she's the main focal point of the show, of the anime. And then you have Norman, who is grounded and seems a little weird. He's very optimistic about their journey and what's going on there, and the fact that they need to find a way to basically survive in this environment and move on to another environment if possible. So definitely a really good and engaging story, especially when you put kids into it, and then you have adults and other entities that are involved. It really makes it where it's you really get captured into the story. And that's how season one went. They had a season two, which came out in 2021. And it was 2 years, because this came out in 2019. It was 2 years later. We had the pandemic, and it just seemed like they were just rushing to get this out because they wanted to get this out while the getting out was good, because Promised Neverland had gotten a big backing. I guess everyone who was home during the pandemic for the quarantine, watching Netflix, that's how it happened with me. My daughter ran across it, and then she mentioned it to me, and we stayed up one night during the pandemic and watched probably the bulk of season one, and then we finished it off, and I was ready for what's happened next. It's really, really good. So when they dropped season two, started off pretty good, but then it just went completely downhill. From what I hear, I haven't read the manga, so if you enjoy, I would suggest if you watch season one of Promised Neverland, if you've never seen it, I'm sure you've heard of it because it got a big following during the pandemic. But if you haven't seen it yet, I would watch season one, and then I would check and see where season one left off in the manga and read the manga, because they skip over so many arcs in season two, and they kind of try to combine several into a rushed mess. And I would suggest not watching it. If you enjoyed this, season two, the final season, will ruin it for you. Like, you'll never want to watch it again. It's like, literally, it's like the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, where if you watch the Rey Finn stuff, you'll never want to go back and watch it. Even if you loved the original trilogy, even if, for the few out there that love the prequel trilogy, you can at least go back to some of that and be like, and it's nostalgic and you enjoy it. Can't go back to the sequel trilogy at all. Maybe Force Awakens every now and then, but that's where the sequel trilogy ends for me, is Force Awakens. But that's a whole nother conversation. But we're talking about Promised Neverland. And season two, I'm not giving spoilers, but season two ends literally with a PowerPoint presentation. If you watch it, which I would not suggest you do if you enjoy this show, do not watch that. But if you do, you know what I'm talking about. It literally ends with a PowerPoint presentation. And then they contradict stuff they say at the end. They show scenes that make no sense because they're from arcs that happen in the manga that they never got to in the actual anime, and it's just a complete mess. So yeah, so Dorohedoro, and of course they could have messed that up if Mappa could have come in and did another season and completely messed that up. But from where they left us off wanting more. This left us wishing they never finished it, and wishing that I wish. Well, no, I don't wish, but I probably should have read the manga and got that satisfaction instead of watching the second season and hoping that they would translate everything or translate enough to where it gave a proper conclusion instead of just a jumbled mess. You literally don't get the main villain until the episode before the final chapter or the final episode. So they pulled a Book of Boba Fett, and I hate to keep going back to Star Wars, but they pulled a Book of Boba Fett where Cad Bane came in the last second to last episode of the season. That was supposed to be the big bad. That's what they do here. You hear his name, I think, a few times, but it's just like they go from 0 to 100 in the last couple of episodes to try to get cram everything to some type of cohesive conclusion, and they fail miserably. So would I suggest Promised Neverland? Absolutely, season 1 is phenomenal. If you're like me and you grew up with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and Naruto and all these action-packed anime, you'll probably think this is not for me. Orphans and kids, but give it a chance. It is really good. You will absolutely get engaged with these kids and just the things they're going through and the things they have to try to avoid. And it's like a cat and mouse, and it's very dark at times. So be prepared. But a very great story. Do not watch season 2. Just pretend like season 2 does not exist and find out where season 1 left off. Grab the manga and you will enjoy, and you'll probably enjoy it. Like I said, I don't know. I didn't read the manga first, so I don't even know if this manga ending was satisfying, but I can tell you, I'm sure it was fleshed out way better than the anime second season and final season. So, check these two out. Hopefully you enjoy them. Dorohedoro is on Netflix. I believe Promised Neverland is still on Netflix, but if not, it is on Hulu. So check those out, and come check me out again. I'll be back soon for some more anime. So thank you guys.